is really important because we can learn from them and learn. And so if it ever happens in our life, then we know how to face it. For example, if someone hurts your feelings, or if someone does something mean to you, you'll know how to face it. Because with Orange Shirt Day, there was a girl who got bullied because she was wearing orange. And if she didn't wear it, then she wouldn't have won.
Good morning. Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools would like to thank God for all of creation. We acknowledge that we were on 2 territories, Treaty 6 territory to the north of the Red Deer River and Treaty 7 territory to the south of the Red Deer River. We acknowledge the many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries and whose respectful stewardship has enabled us all to enjoy the riches of Creator's blessings. Tansei, Oki, hello. My name is Ryan Swula. I'm the Associate Superintendent of Curriculum with Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools. We welcome all schools across our division joining us via live stream as we come together on this very special day committed to truth and reconciliation and ensuring that the tragic history and ongoing legacy of rented residential schools are never forgotten. This National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is an opportunity for our community to honor survivors, their families, and communities, and ensure the public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remains a vital component of our reconciliation process. At this time, I would like to introduce Community Elder Lynn Jonasson and Traditional Knowledge Keepers Dean Johnson and Dakota Dion. Thank you for guiding us in a pipe ceremony this morning, for the traditional songs, and for the continuous support to guide our work. We know it is important to understand that a path towards truth and reconciliation education is a lifelong journey of learning that is best undertaken with the guidance of our elders and knowledge keepers. We thank you all for your guidance and support on this journey. I'd also like to introduce the Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools Board of Trustees, Board Chair Kim Pasula, Vice Chair Doreen Lonsdale, Trustee Anne-Marie Watson, Trustee Cynthia Layson, and Trustee Charla Heisted. Thank you for joining us. We also have the rest of our senior leadership team, Superintendent of Schools Kathleen Finnegan, Associate Superintendent of Personnel Ryan Ledeen, and Associate Superintendent of Inclusion Jody Smith. We have our Indigenous Education Services team, Ms. Selena Frisley, Ms. Diane Gardipi, Ms. Danielle Shamrick, and Ms. Tracy Manine. Due to the current restrictions, we are not able to have all representatives with us, and we would like to formally acknowledge the different First Nations community and the Métis Nation of Central Alberta. Treaties between Indigenous peoples existed prior to European contact. Treaty making was historically used among Indigenous people for such purposes as trade alliances, peace, friendship, safe passage, and access to shared resources within another's ancestral nation. Respect and cooperation were foundational principles that resulted in tribal alliances. Canada's First Peoples brought this spirit of respect and cooperation into the treaties with the Canadian government. Unfortunately, language and culture differences, as well as the push for colonization, resulted in treaty misunderstandings and unfulfilled promises. The original spirit and intent brought forth by the First Peoples was not honored by the government as Canada began to grow and develop. There is much more to treaties than what is written in the government's version of these legal documents. The spirit and intent of treaties is integral to developing a better understanding of them. To move forward in the path towards truth and reconciliation, we must honor and gain a deeper understanding of the perspective of peace and respect that was intended by the Indigenous people who joined into these agreements. Having the treaty and Métis flags placed in all of our schools will begin the conversation and learning that we are all treaty people living on this land. These flags are a symbol to honor and acknowledge the original spirit and intent for a relationship rooted in respect and cooperation in our communities now and into the future. At this time, I would ask Board Chair Pasula and Elder Lynn to please come forward. Mr. Pasula will present protocol and a gift to Elder Lynn to lead us this morning with a message and prayer.
Good morning, Lynn.
Good morning.
And thank you very much for joining us this morning on this important day, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Earlier, I provided Elder Lynn with tobacco and some ribbons as protocol. And I asked that Lynn provide us with an opening prayer for the staff and students at Red Deer Catholic Schools, and that he also shares some words of hope for the children that are joining us today. But before I let Lynn loose so he can do that, I have a special presentation to make today. And I'd like to thank you, Elder Lynn, and I'd also like to thank Elder Corky, who wasn't able to be with us today, for your contribution to Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools and for all the important work you have done in helping to put us on a good path towards truth and reconciliation. And you have changed lives of many in our schools, and we will be eternally grateful for that. And in honor of that contribution, we present you with this blanket. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Priscilla. What an honor. What an honor to be here this morning. Share with you and hold this blanket up to the Creator. A blanket in our ways is like every one of us is like a blanket to the Creator. We carry our spirit within us, spirit of love, spirit of kindness, of hope, of courage, of faith, patience, humility. It was such a beautiful morning to be here and to honor these flags, to honor these, but give us hope, because the wind is always blowing and the sun is always shining on us. The water is flowing and the Earth Mother has always given us encouragement and hope. That is part of the Treaty of Canada. We're all part of the Treaty of Canada. When I heard the words spoken today, it was such a beautiful message to you students out there, who are getting this education from these wonderful educators. And, so I encourage you, you young people, you are our hope. You are our hope to carry this message forward into the future, to bring that love to one another, whatever color we are, where we come from, whatever faith we have, that we Indigenous people have a medicine wheel, and we're all part of the medicine wheel. But the Creator put medicine on this earth for us. Put medicine right inside of our heart, right inside of our heart. So listen to your medicine, listen to your heart, listen to what the Creator is speaking to you up, and share your medicine, share your education, share your dreams for the visions of the future. And each and every one here today, but you're so blessed. You're so blessed to have such wonderful people in our lives today, that support us within leadership and education. Hope is a wonderful thing. Hope means honesty, means open-mindedness, means possibilities. It means so many things, and we must never give up. We must never give up, because hope means we keep on going, especially in these times that we're in with COVID, and when we have such hardships to face. So I want to just pass on that message, and with great love with great love from our Indigenous peoples, all our relations. Aye.
Thank you, Elder Lynn. I'd now like to invite Board Chair Pasula to come forward to offer a message of reconciliation on behalf of the Board of Trustees to our students.
Well, good morning, everyone. Today is a special day, and today is an important day. It's important that we continue to commemorate the history and legacy of residential schools in Canada. And at Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools, we welcome the prospect each year on September 30th to stop all that we do so we may, with focus, address the sobering revelations about the horrors of the Indian residential school system. The recognition of the intergenerational harm that residential schools inflicted will remain an enduring part of the reconciliation process in our school communities. We will continue to honor all those that have been impacted by this injustice. It is equally as important that we continue our collaboration with Indigenous elders and knowledge keepers, as well as our local Aboriginal community organizations, to listen, to learn, and to seek their guidance with our efforts to act upon the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action. The Board of Trustees is very proud of the great people on our Indigenous service team that take a leadership role with these actions throughout the division. And we are very proud, with the support of our talented staff, of all of the children and young people in our schools that have gained a better understanding of Indigenous culture and are moving together in a good way to reconciliation. The Indian residential school system has not just left a black mark on Canadian history, it permeates Canadian history and is with us today. Today, we are still locating unmarked graves. And today, we are living with the impacts and injustice of residential schools. Our governments and our broader education system contributed to this history in ways beyond the Indian residential school system, and in so doing, spread a negative view of the life and ways of Indigenous people in Canada. Today, we know the truth, or most of us know the truth, and we are gaining a better understanding of Canadian history. We know that the idea the government of Canada had regarding the Indian residential school system was wrong. We also know the truth about the role that churches played, that Catholic organizations played in the administration of residential schools. We know that that was wrong. And we know the truth about the harm that these schools and our education system had on Indigenous people, communities, and our society. We know about the harm and injustice. Today, with the guidance and support of many, including our beautiful friends, Elder Lynn and Elder Corky, and our knowledge keepers, Dean and Dakota are with us here today. We are gaining a better cultural understanding of Indigenous peoples, and I believe we are pursuing a good path towards reconciliation. We are shedding light on the truth so that we may work from an informed place towards reconciliation. I know that each and every one of you, all of our staff members, and all of the students in our schools with empathy and understanding in your hearts, you are on your own personal journey to learn and know the truth. This is the path that is moving all of us to reconciliation. We are on the right road. So have a good morning and have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Chair Pasula. At this time, we would now like to invite Mrs. Diane Gardipi, Mrs. Tracy Manine, and Mrs. Danielle Shamrick from the Indigenous Education Services team to come forward and share the significance of the Treaty and Métis flags being placed in all schools.
Danse, Miogisigo, Nitotemtik. Hello, good morning, my relatives. According to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's guiding principles, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as the original peoples of this country and as self-determining peoples have treaty, constitutional, and human rights that must be recognized and respected. In order to truly understand the meaning behind each of these flags and having them in your schools, it is important to recognize and acknowledge that each of these flags represents a sovereign nation that have existed on this land since time immemorial. Oral stories tell us that people have coexisted with the land, animals, and each other since the beginning of creation, including newcomers to the land. There is a rich history of indigenous peoples prior to the signing of treaties, and a remarkable resilience after treaties were signed. It is our hope that these flags speak to the true history of Indigenous peoples and the land we now know as Canada, as well as to acknowledge the promises made for a shared and respectful relationship. To quote Ron Lehman, treaties are the original reconciliation between First Nations and the Crown. Treaty 6 was signed on August 23rd, 1876 at Fort Carlton, Saskatchewan, and also September 9th, 1876 at Fort Pitt, Alberta. It was signed by the Nehiyawak, the Cree, the Anishinaabe, the Saulteaux, the Stoney Nakoda, the Sioux, and the Dene people. There were 50 different First Nations groups living in Treaty 6 territory. Treaty 6 land stretches from central West Alberta in through central Saskatchewan and part of western Manitoba. In 1876, when Treaty 6 was affirmed between First Nations and the Crown, each chief who was a signatory to the treaty was given, among other items, a Union Jack flag and a Treaty 6 medal. The background to the Treaty 6 flag is the Union flag, commonly known as the Union Jack, and is the flag of the United Kingdom. The symbols on the treaty medallion, the sun, the grass, and the water, echo and symbolize their expected continuance. That this treaty is to last for as long as the sun shines, the grass grows, and the rivers flow. The shaking of the hands by the two figures in the medallion and the buried hatchet represent for us to get along well, for us to live as nations, for us to share the land, be allied, live as good neighbors, raise one another well, grow together well, and for us to be helped. The Treaty 6 flag was designed to raise awareness that this is Treaty 6 territory, and that the state of Canada could not have been founded without these treaties. Treaties reflect First Nations relationship with the land, which must be acknowledged and taught to all people if they are to fully comprehend the spirit and intent of treaty. They were not merely contracts with the Queen, as they have been perceived to be. They were undertaken as sacred commitments of the highest form, where Creator was considered the binding factor.
Thank you. So I reached out to the Treaty 7 First Nations Chiefs Association to ask for their blessing to have the Treaty 7 flag in our schools that are located on that territory, but also to ask their elder to share the meaning behind the Treaty 7 flag. As distance was a factor in exchanging traditional protocol, we put tobacco down on the land outside in gratitude for the sharing of the knowledge about these sacred agreements, as well as the continued guidance as we move forward in the work. Treaty 7 was signed on September 22nd, 1877 at the Blackfoot crossing of the Bow River. It was signed by the Niitsitapi from the Blackfoot Confederacy, which includes Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai, the Iahe Stony Nakota of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley nations, and the Dene of the Tsuut'ina Nation. The traditional territory of these nations spread eastward from the Rocky Mountains across the northwestern plains. The leaders who signed this agreement thought they were working in partnership with the government in making an agreement to help one another adjust to a new way of life, and they wanted to ensure the survival of their people. According to respected elder and Treaty 7 advisor, Greg C. Smith, the Treaty 7 logo was painted and designed by the late Henry Standing Alone of the Blood Tribe. The elder said that the blue represents the sky and the brown of the mountains, with Chief Mountain right in the middle. The 5 teepees represent the 5 tribes, starting with the middle North Star, the Blood Tribe or Kainai, the buffalo, Piikani, the eagle, Stony, the otter, Siksika, and the beaver, Tsuut'ina. And then you have 2 cross pipes right in the center of the sun. There are 7 feathers on the bottom, which represents the 7 nations within Treaty 7 territory. This flag is a symbol of the nations who are all a part of the Treaty 7 territory and the relationships to the land and the animals, as well as the sacredness of this agreement made with the Crown. I encourage each of you to truly honor the land and the traditional territory in which your school resides. We are looking very forward to coming into your schools and classrooms to share more information in the future. Thank you.
Good morning. The Métis flag infinity symbol represents 2 cultures coming together and the existence of the Métis people forever. The blue flag represents the Northwest Company, while the red flag represents the Hudson Bay Company. However, the blue flag has become more commonly used. The Métis people are of First Nations ancestry and European descent. These 2 cultures collided during the fur trade in the 17th and 18th centuries. The Métis people started to identify themselves as Métis around 1812 to 1818. The Métis people have their own language called Michif, with approximately 4 different dialects. In Alberta, you will mainly find the Michif Cree dialect. The Métis share so much with both Indigenous and European culture. The Métis sash, which I am wearing, is part of the Métis identity and represents many aspects of culture. The origins of the sash represent the diversity of the Métis experience, while today it signifies pride and identification for the Métis people. There are approximately 537,855 identified Métis people living in Canada today. 90% are located in the West Provinces and Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you to Diane, Tracy, and Danielle. At this time, we will have the honor song played in honor of the flags.
Yeah. Go, get my squad.
I would invite you to stand where you are as we acknowledge all the residential school survivors and their families. And we take 2 moments of silence for the children that did not make it home. Please be seated. Thank you to Dean and Dakota for sharing with us the Going Home song for the children that didn't make it home. At this time, I'd invite Tracy Manine to come forward and please introduce our dancers from the Red Deer Aboriginal Dance Troupe.
Thank you, Ryan. So we have three beautiful jingle dress dancers joining us today from the Red Deer Aboriginal Dance Troupe. They're here to offer us a dance of healing for all the children who didn't make it home from residential school and for all of the survivors and their families. They are our beautiful future, right, encompassing these beautiful girls. So please welcome Nia Littlechild, Asana Big Child, and Sienna Goodswimmer.
Thank you to our dancers and to our drummers. This is a significant day for us to make an obligation to gain a deeper understanding of the implications of residential schools and treaties, specifically where your school is located. This understanding is a necessary step for our schools division path forward in truth and reconciliation. The flags you see behind us will be delivered to schools later today. We are also beginning a 6-week reconciliation challenge for Red Deer Catholic students and their families. In the coming weeks, you'll see more information on actions you can take to learn about and promote truth and reconciliation and healing. Be sure to ask your parents to check out our school division webpage, Facebook, and Instagram accounts for more information. Thank you everyone for joining us. Special thanks to Elder Lynn, to Dean and Dakota, to our dancers, and a very, very special thank you to our Indigenous Education Services team for their continued work and efforts planning this day. Hi, hi. One more.